Hello indie game fans, in this edition of the surprise releases, I do have a number of games which were released out of early access, some tycoon games, and wonderful titles not to be missed in the top 3. Let's begin with Open Hexagon, an iteration of Super Hexagon that changes the 2-button game into one with 4 buttons. It's the same kind of psychedelic, pulse-pounding action title that will test your reaction speed, where the original game was one of those flow games that, when you got into a groove, was simply excellent, and this looks to follow in those footsteps. Instead of simply moving left to right, you also have the ability to flip around the center by 180 degrees, as well as a focus mode that allows you to slow down time, so it's an iteration on the original with a whole fan community behind it, creating levels and supplying tracks, all with the blessing of Terry Kavanagh, making this not to be missed. The thing that drew me to Cards and Castles 2 was the art style, simply looking fantastic, where this tactical deck builder is the sequel to a game from 2015, ditching the free-to-play model in favour of a premium game.
By the holy laws, you are found wanting!
When we next meet, it shall be beneath the shadow of my greatest work of all.
It has a single-player campaign as well as multiplayer support with different factions and units to wrap your head around, making this for fans of deck builders. The concept of Tourney did impress me, since this is a tycoon game that has you building out the facilities of a medieval tournament, having to provide areas for gladiators, jousting, stables, as well as the various tents and stalls for the visitors. It's a nice change of pace from the zoo or hospital tycoons that we've become so used to, and was released out of early access after a relatively short period of time. However, it is not as in-depth as some of the bigger games in the space, but I do think that it deserves a mention for the unique theme alone. At this point in time, I'm sure that you will instantly get the value proposition of First Class Trouble, which, simply put, is an asymmetric multiplayer game like Among Us, released out of early access last month. Work together with your crew to keep the ship running and to take down the dangerous AI, but watch out for imposters who are trying to sabotage your efforts. It does have a third-person perspective, which does affect sightlines and such, looking like a neat alternative, although as with most multiplayer games, player population will be a concern. One of the tycoon games that I absolutely adore is Megaquarium from 2018. Since I used to keep tropical fish as pets and do like to visit aquariums, where the Architect Collection paid DLC added even more features. We have new creatures like the sunfish or mantis shrimp, as well as plenty of architectural upgrades, both practical and cosmetic, meaning that you can now build walkways and structures for a multi-level aquarium, adding verticality, which is pretty neat to see in this game. I did actually cover Gamedec back in September, but wanted to give it another shout out with its accolades trailer, since it is a pretty good game not to be missed. It is from an isometric camera angle and looks like a CRPG, where you play as a detective solving crimes in various worlds, which, conveniently, gives it plenty of variety with different settings. This is more similar to a game like Disco Elysium rather than Pillars of Eternity, making this of interest if you loved that game and wanted more. My soft spot for JRPGs shows once again with Witch Spring 3 Refine, the story of Eirudy, a game with a very long and extensive title and trailer, which does show off some of the systems. You play as a witch, living in seclusion in the forest to escape persecution, but an event occurs where she gets thrown into an epic quest that will determine the fate of humans and deities alike. Interestingly, you only have a single character to control, with no additional party members, although you can summon dolls to help you both in combat and exploration. The trailer does also show off the training system outside of combat, adding in a life sim or time management aspect with some decent art, especially in the cutscenes. Interestingly, this comes to us from a South Korean developer with Japanese voice acting, but the pedigree could mean that some of the influences and monster designs would be a little different than what you would normally expect.
Ah, 人間だから安心していいよ。俺はアドリアンというんだ。君は？ああ、そうか。シェザールの人は名前がなかったっけ？じゃあ、アイールディ。どうかな？赤い目を持つという意味で。
本気にならない方がいいよ。アドにも、ヨハネスにも。その二人だって人間なんだろう。弱いんだよ。
じゃあ、アイルディ、またな。
違う。
私アドリ
A very special shoutout goes to Jen from Giant Bomb, since he was talking about super auto pads on the Bombcast and I had to give it a look, and what I found was a pretty decent auto chess-like title that I missed in September. You are assembling an army of animals to go to war with another opponent, equipping them with items, combining units to increase their level, and strategizing around the various skills. These rounds are short enough to warrant that one more game type of gameplay loop, and being a free-to-play title has no barrier to entry, so do give it a go. Boomerang Fu Fresh Flavors Pack is a paid DLC to the disgustingly cute local multiplayer title about boomerang throwing sentient food items, where this entry is purely cosmetic, adding 4 new characters and 10 new costumes, but is a great way to continue to support this developer. One of the most popular roguelites of the year is Touhou Endless Dream, released out of early access and is one for fans of the genre. You don't even need to be a fan of Touhou to enjoy this title, since the action is great, where it does lean upon its influence and adds a bullet hell twist to the genre. If you cannot already tell from the trailer, this is from a Chinese developer, where the one knock against this will be that the translation isn't the best, but as an introduction to the world of Touhou, this is a pretty good entry worth a look, taking the number 1 spot. For more roguelites, watch these videos and I will see you after the jump.